Welcome to this module on electronic front office. So here when we talk about the transformation that has happened in the hotels in the earlier days, it was very much through manual recording process where everything was written manually by the people and involved large amount of employees, their time, their energy for work. And now it is seen a transformation as with the other industries that the hotels also perform majority of functions with the softwares in the computers. So the hotels use a variety of computer systems to manage the operations of the front office with a property management systems which is shortly designed as PMS. These computer systems manage a variety of tasks and are customized to the requirement of the hotels. Hotel PMS manages guest check-in, check-out, cash transactions at the front desk and also other ancillary transactions such as reservations, housekeeping, night audit and other tasks that are performed in the front desk. The fully automated system of the hotels, especially at the luxury hotels nowadays, the business hotels where the hotel is fully computerized with updated versions so as to enable the guest speedy service at all phases. And now when we look into the transactions that is happening in the pre-arrival phase, under this stage if we see the reservation department is equipped with the software package that is interfaced and connected with one or more central reservation office. Moreover, the reservation department can automatically generate letters of confirmation, produce requests for guest deposits and also handle the pre-registration activities for all types of guests and generate daily expected arrival list, occupancy, revenue forecast list and much more. And now moving on to the next stage of arrival phase, this stage various reservation records can be transformed to the front office department. Moreover, the hotels might be equipped with an online credit authorization terminals for timely credit card approval, self check-in, self checkout terminals. Lastly, all guest charges and payments are saved in the electronic guest folios. As far as possible, walk-ins are concerned, the registration activities should be initiated from the very beginning. Now when we look into the stay phase, that is the occupancy phase of the guest, under this stage the guest purchases at different revenue outlets are electronically transferred. For example, if the guest uses a cafe or restaurant or uses the shop, everything is automatically transferred to the guest electronic folio and posted to the guest accounts. Moreover, the front office department can run and process continuous trial balance and therefore eliminate the tedious work for the night auditors. And the last phase of the departure phase where checkout happens, at this very stage cashiers can automatically produce bills to be sent to the various guest accounts and with direct billing privileges and also create electronic guest history records and is updated automatically. Now the point is selecting the property management software. PMS is by nature differ greatly. Due to the wide variety of hotels currently in the marketplace, the property management softwares have evolved to meet the different array of needs. Each hotel must consider several factors that influence the type of the software they use before finding one best for their needs. The first step in deciding the right PMS is to conduct a need analysis. This process of conducting the need analysis where hotel owners and the senior administrators determine required scope of their PMS needs, what a process the particular hotel will require from its software, factors such as the hotel size, product type, location, and target market also affects this need analysis. Now, the most PMS are organized based on the series of menus within the property management software. The guest account tracks all the data that pertains to an individual guest. The guest account contains two separate menus, the guest registration menu and the other one is the guest accounting menu. The guest registration menu contains the various aspects. The guest registration menu contains all the pertinent information generated from the initial reservation process during the stay. The guest accounting menu will be used to track all credit and debit transactions related to the guest stay. Now, when we see into the details of guest registration menu, the data contained within the guest registration menu helps to track all the information pertinent to the guest stay. Each PMS will contain this information in some format which is required. Though the order and the verbiage may be different, the following list of information in the registration menu is possible, and it includes guest name, the arrival date, departure date, the address, phone number, reservation status, required room number, room rate, room status, method of payment, billing method, guest loyalty, frequent flyer, special request, comments, market code, and so on will all be recorded in the guest registration menu. Now, when we talk about the second aspect, the guest accounting menu, the guest accounting menu will contain a limited amount of information relating to the guest reservations. Its primary process is to document every financial transaction relating to the guest. Each time a charge is posted, a credit issued or a payment made, it will be reflected in the display automatically. Though the order and verbiage may differ, the following list information contained within the accounting menu, namely the guest name, arrival, departure details, room number, method of payment, reservation status. The remainder of accounting menu summarize the financial transaction of the guest at any point of time. And now, when we look into the activities of this PMS during check-in process, it is used continuously to check guests in and out of the hotel. This process has been reviewed and is crucial in effectively managing the room inventory, the room status especially. It is also a very good way to illustrate the operation of a property management system. This section illustrates the check-in of a walk-in guest, that is, a guest without any prior reservations walk into the hotel for rooms. The mechanism of checking in a walk-in guest is very much similar to making an advance reservation. The information needed is nearly identical, therefore, a front desk agent must be cognizant of all the details needed in a reservation. Most reservation agents can assist in checking the guest in because of this similarity. And also, during the checkout of the guest comes to the front desk to check out. Many of the same principles involved in check-in also apply here. Once the guest has approached the desk, the employee should greet him or her with a smile. In course of their conversation, the guest's name should be used at least twice, again continuously reinforcing the commitment to the guest satisfaction. The guest name is verified to include the correct spelling. This is the time some employees make mistake of associating a guest's name with a room number. This should never happen. The front desk employee should inquire about the stay of the guest. Any outstanding service issues should be resolved at this point, allowing the guest to depart with any unresolved issues invariably leads to guests who will not return back to us. And nowadays we see that there is guest directed computer checkout, where you see there is more flexibility in this points of checkout process. The guest directed computer checkout also refers to as video checkout, and it is available at most of the luxury hotels nowadays. The in-room television acts as a video display terminal for hotel guests. Guests can review their accounts at any point of time during their stay using this particular system. This system also allows for visual display of the text messages as reviewed earlier. Once the guest has reviewed the folio and decided to check out, he or she would input the appropriate commands on the computer keyboard connected to the television. And now, when we look into the automated checkout system, it is also called as the express checkout, and it is implemented by the hotel on behalf of the guest when guest requires this process of electronic front checkout. Because this departure date was verified upon check-in, and the hotels know what guest scheduled checkout date is, and using this automated system, the hotel would print out a folio for all guests who are supposed to depart on that particular day. This is usually done by the night audit staff in the manual accounting process, but whereas in an electronic front office, people does this automatically. The actual folios are then delivered to each room and slid under the door. Night shift bell staff or the security personnel typically delivers these electronically generated folios for the checkout guest for the next day. The departing guest simply reviews the folios for accuracy and can depart without even having to step at the front desk for all the checkout possibilities. Now, having seen all this process of electronic front desk activities, now we will have to know how it affects the analysis of the hotels. There are two ways: quantifiable analysis and the qualifiable analysis. The quantifiable analysis talks about the RevPAR, which is defined as the revenue per available room. This analysis allows hotels of different size to compare the revenue generated by the sale of a room. RevPAR divides the total number of rooms available for sale and the revenue generated for a predetermined time frame by the total number of rooms available for sale. The RevPAR goes beyond the occupancy analysis because it factors in average daily rate. The RevPAR is unique to hospitality industry because of the different size of the hotels. They need to compare the performance on an even playing field arose. Factors in the size of the hotel allows any hotel in a specific market mix to compare itself to another hotel. It will be helpful to review again the common hotel size classifications. Also, the other analysis in the quantifiable one is the market share. The market share is defined as hotels' occupancy performance in relation to other hotels within a predetermined competitive set. Market share analysis reveals how a hotel performed based on how it should have been done. It also reveals how much business a hotel took from the competitors. Once the competitive set is determined, the total market potential is calculated. The total market potential is the total number of available rooms within the competitive set. Adding all the sleeping rooms at each member of the set will determine this potential. These shares are usually taken out automatically from the computers in the electronic set. And also, to continue the qualifiable analysis at the electronic front desk, the qualifiable analysis are based on the goals of the hotel managers. What path they will take down the road to prosperity can differ. That road to prosperity will fork. One path goes down the road of rate driven and the other goes down the path of occupancy driven. Now, the rate driven management goals, many forego occupancy levels for a higher average rate. The occupancy driven goals are simply the opposite. They forego a higher average rate for greater occupancy. The rate driven managers will use the RevPAR, which is the revenue per income generated, to show how the higher rates are making better use of each sold room. They will forego occupancy for a better overall revenue picture. Occupancy driven managers claim that due to opportunity cost, an unsold room costs the hotel expenditure. Any room sold above room cost generates some profit. And now when we look into the updating of the front office records, when guest has checked out, the front office is responsible for updating all records as early as possible so that the guest folios do not remain pending in any of these sections of the hotel. The room status and front office records after usually the checkout, that is the departure of the guest, the rooms will become vacant and available for letting to the other guest. Consequently, the guest is no longer a resident of the hotel. Therefore, the room status information and front office records must be changed very much immediately to keep them accurate and also allow for the next sales to happen. In large hotel with computerized front office systems, the updating process is automatically done by the computer after the guest has been recorded as checkout. The system will automatically change the room status from occupied to vacant or dirty. The housekeeping will in turn see that this vacant or dirty rooms are cleaned. The name of the guest will be removed from the residence list and transferred to the checkout guest list, and guest account will be transferred into past guest file in the computer. However, it must be remembered that the registration card must be stored for the legal purposes at least for 12 months. The guest history records in many of the hotels, a guest history record is kept. This is the record of the guest room and the rates charged, their likes, dislikes, if known as well the amount which they spent, that is the average spending power of the guest. These details will be useful for the front desk operator to receive the guest again later. One member of the front office staff will be given the duty of daily updating of guest history records that is stored in the computer. When creating and updating the guest history records, a hotel will need to decide which guest should be added to the guest history records in hotels with a computerized front office system. The computers will automatically open a new guest history record for a new guest who stayed in the hotel for the first time. Apart from creating and updating the guest history records, or an annual review at all guest history records is needed. Some records may have to be discarded in smaller hotels. Guest history records may not be kept, but this is very much up to the policy of each property. Now, when we look into the electronic accounting cycle, another important function of the front office accounting systems is to maintain an accurate, precise and up-to-date record of all the financial transactions that is happening between the hotel and the guest, so that all outstanding accounts are settled without any delay. From this, it can be seen that the front office accounting process can be divided into three main phases as far as the electronic front desk is concerned. The first step is creation of guest accounts. The second one is automatically maintenance of accounts during the stay of the guest, and finally during the departure, that is checkout of the guest, settlement of accounts happen. These three phases are electronically handled by the property management softwares. Now, when we look in detail on the creation of accounts, a guest account or folio is usually created immediately after the guest checks in. part of the check-in process is to enter the guest details into the computer, which automatically opens an account on the name of the guest as the electronic guest folio, or open the guest account manually. Credit limits or the house limits are usually set, which means that the guest may not go beyond a preset amount of their accounts and may need to be cautioned on settlement of accounts when it exceeds the credit or the house limit. And now automatically when the new guest folio account is open, it begins to maintain the accounts by adding the bills and the expenditures that the guest uses during the service. Once the guest account has been opened, all financial transactions that is done by the guest by the hotel will be recorded automatically when the guest uses any services in the hotel, for example, as visitors paid out, whether when he uses a spa, when he uses a cafeteria. All these transactions are recorded automatically onto the guest account, and it is called as posting, which is done automatically by the computers, and also helps to see that there are no late charges, which is possible in the manual accounting process. And as soon as this maintenance of accounts happens, the last and the final process is the settlement of accounts. The accounts are settled by cash and credit settlements. The cash settlements include settlement by local currency, foreign currencies if the guest is an overseas guest, traveler's checks, personal checks, and bank cards, either the debit cards or credit cards. And also sometimes the guests may settle their accounts through credit settlements, which are usually the guests from companies as corporate guests or guests from travel agents. Now, these settlements has to be very much determined so that the maintenance and the final settlements happen without any delay. Now, the most of the hotels follow another recent process, which is the express checkout. In most hotels, guests tend to check out at approximately the exact same time, and consequently the cashier's desk may become very busy during that period. Hotels therefore offer an express checkout facility, which allows guests to check out without having queue at the front desk or at the cashier's desk. This also helps the cashiers by reducing the pressure of work at busy time in hotels. With express checkout services, special forms are placed in the guest rooms as well as being available from the front office before the day of departure, and the guest goes through these folios and signs the express checkout form. And by signing this guest checkout form, the guest agrees to have the account finalized by the front office, and cashier may see that the accounts are settled even before the guest leaves the hotel. Now, as a conclusion to this module on electronic front office, the computerized activities that happens at the hotels the electronic way using these gadgets will be beneficial to the guest and as well the hotel. It enables a very much quick, precise and accurate ways of handling the guest data. Therefore, the front office department has to function round the clock with effective services to the guest at all phases of guest cycle, starting from the pre-arrival till checkout. The commitment of the guest to the employees will directly benefit to the success of the hotel and gain a good repute among the people. Customizing and updating the softwares at the hotel property frequently and also training the employees on the effective use of these electronic process will enable speedy service to the guest with a much greater satisfaction.